What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri zone to start the game day week because we play tomorrow against Real Madrid. But that's not what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about signing Jadon Sancho or Conceicao. It's one of the two, apparently, according to Giovanni Albanese. So the news flipped because a week ago it was both of them. It wasn't one or the other. Right now, it's apparently one of the two. I will go into if that is, I think that's believable, and why it's one of the two potentially, and what the difference is as well, and what will you guys do? Who will you pick if it's Conceicao or Jadon Sancho? You can let me know in the comments that for sure. But before we get into it, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's go. Okay, so a very sensible, topic, because I know how a lot of you think about Conceicao. I know how a lot of you just think about getting Conceicao or Jadon Sancho, where it's like, well, if I need to pick one of the two, I will pick Conceicao, even though I'm not, the biggest, maybe Conceicao fan in general. That being said, we're in talks with both. Now, the difference is we want to pay what Man U are asking, 25-ish million euros. We do not want to pay what Porto are asking, 30 million euros. And keep in mind, we already paid 10 million euros for the club. I don't know how we paid those 10 million. Is it in one installment? Is that on the books for a couple of seasons? I have no idea. Is maybe the club looking to say to Porto, well, the 10 million, we're going to spread that over the years we're going to sign Conceicao. I have no idea what that's. But keep in mind, it's in total 40 million euros for Conceicao, 10 we paid, maybe over a couple of seasons, and 25 for Jadon Sancho. That's the difference. The wages are also a difference. Now, I know Portuguese sources are saying we're paying Conceicao 6 million euros, which I don't see happening at all. So that is what it is. Jadon Sancho's wages are also up in the air. Literally. It's a lot of money is on right now, but no club is going to pay that. Fenerbahce are going for John Duran on loan. Napoli have pulled out of the race for Jadon Sancho. It's just basically us right now. And if he wants to join, he's going to need to lower his demands. Now, two different players. Like Jadon Sancho is more technically well-sounded. Conceicao was a very direct player. Who I think Jadon Sancho is better when... Okay, when every player has space, he's better. That's obvious. But I think Conceicao, he needs space, period. If the games get closed out a little bit, teams just sit back a little bit, it becomes extremely difficult for Conceicao to play because he loses sight, he loses the moment a little bit. It's a bit all over the place. We've seen it. With Jadon Sancho, I think when the games are a bit more rigid, and teams sit back, he's technically well more sounded and more clear level-headed to make more smart decisions, if that makes any sense. He's not that direct, he's not that quick, obviously. I don't think he has the potential, how do you want to say that, explosive, cutback like Cuadrado a little bit had, like Conceicao, where he just cuts back and he takes a shot. I don't think he's that. And of course, Jadon Sancho's trajectory has not been fantastic. That's the honest truth. Now, is it a financial thing? Because if it's a financial thing, then I understand the situation more so. But again, even when a financial situation is, it's like if you are going to spend just because you have to spend, but you cannot spend enough, so you're just going to spend just where you can, but what you're spending it on is not actually good enough, then do not spend. But if it's financially more feasible for the club to get Jadon Sancho rather than Conceicao for some sort of reason I cannot figure out at this moment in time, I understand the club's perspective. Now, when it comes to my own opinion, in an ideal world, we do not pay 40 million in total for Conceicao and 25 million euros for Jadon Sancho. In an ideal world, we go for much better players. Now, can we afford much better players? Probably not. Are there better players out there for the same price tag? Probably not. Bakayoko from PSV, it could be cheap, but he stagnated this season, and that's a project. Can we handle another project? That is obviously a a question you need to ask yourself. So that's also a weird one. But for the club right now, is it waiting until July? Like, I don't know what the situation is. Like, we have lined things up apparently. You can close the Conceicao deal. You can close basically the Jadon Sancho deal. You can close the Jonathan David deal. You can close the Colomani deal. But I think the problem is money. Rather, right now, I think more of a transfer budget. I think the club is looking at, we need to get a lot of players just off the wage bill. And Bangula, probably not, because he's cheap, but he will have some value in the market. But Timothy Weah, Vlahovic, most likely. I think the issue is they're looking at the wage structure, and they're like, if we bring in players on those type of wages, even Conceicao permanent, Jonathan David, and Jadon Sancho, well, the wage bill is not going to look all that fantastic, if we have no guarantees the other players are going to leave. So I think they're more looking at that rather than the prices they're going to get for the other players. I think that's more the sticking point rather than 30 million euros for Conceicao, because all in all, that's not a lot of money. Yes, we paid already 10, but like, just look strictly at today, what you're going to need to pay today. 30 million euros in today's market is not a lot of money. We need to be very honest with that. Even if it's the most average player, you think the fantastic player, 30 million euros is just a very normal fee in today's market. Very, very normal. If you go below that, you're going to need to have some quote unquote luck that you hit on something fantastic, like we did with Thuram, or you're just going to need to be very patient with those players to develop, which a club at Juve, you cannot really be all that patient, especially not after the 5 years we had, especially not on multiple positions. If you do that on one position, maybe, so that is also a very interesting part. With Conceicao, you know what you're going to get for your club because he's played for your club. With Jadon Sancho, you do not know what you're going to get for your club because he hasn't played for your club. He's played for Man U, for Dortmund, back to Dortmund, Chelsea, and it's a bit all over the place for him as well. So it is a big risk. Now, if Tudor is like, I need Jadon Sancho to make it work rather than Conceicao, like for every coach, if you want to make it work, you're going to need to give the coach what he wants in certain capacity. Obviously, if he wants Jadon Sancho over Conceicao and the price tag for Jadon Sancho was 80 compared to Conceicao, then yeah, you cannot do that as a club. And you're going to need to tell Tudor, we cannot afford that right now. You're going to need to make it work with Conceicao rather than Jadon Sancho. Because because the price is similar, and I'm not the biggest Tudor fan, but we cannot start a season with him having players he doesn't prefer or rate. That's a ridiculous way to start the season already in general. But you need to be careful to not invest money in players that are just not good enough, period. Anyways, you guys in the comments, let me know who you pick between the two. And do you believe it's one of the two rather than both? Let me know and we will discuss it in the chat.